what an agent is effectively is it takes AI from this answering questions to doing real work, right? So how does it work? So the LLM is the brains. And then you give it tools, which could be your DAM, could be your email, could be your CRM, whatever you like. You give it information, which is knowledge, which could be your brand guidelines, that sort of thing. And then you give it the ability to call other agents. Okay. And together that will perform and does work for you. Right. So let me give you an example first of how that fits and how that works. Right. So we would have customers that would take a brief and they would upload it to our system. Okay. So the brief agent would read it. It would understand the brief, it would create a project, it would estimate the effort, it would assign resources, create tasks, and start the workflow process. So there you can see there's multiple tasks and steps that that agent did. So that's very different to AI just working with a chatbot. Okay. So if I park that there, that's kind of what an agent roughly kind of does. So well, what controls that agent? Like, how does that agent work within the system? How is it governed? And that's what you come to something that's called the harness. And what the harness is the infrastructure that's wrapped around your agents. It handles the execution and the orchestration of all your agents together. You can think about it like the factory floor. Okay. So it handles your tool calling and your connected systems. It allows the multi agent systems to talk to other systems. It enforces your governance and enforces your rules and your guardrails. Importantly, it does your logging and explainability. And this is something I will talk about more in the video. When you have an agent system running, how do you know it's working? How do you know what it's done? So it's the harness is what does all of your logging and the explainability. So after every agent run, you can go and you can see what it did, how it did it, like how much it cost, what the performance was. And then over time, you can evaluate that agent to see if it's meeting your business outcomes.
That's a huge part, Johnny, of I suppose what will come to us from the business owners is, I suppose, number one, the big idea, like you talked there through the briefing side of things, and within that, you talked about, we see everything in terms of briefing. People say, hey, we get an email in from a client, we get WhatsApp messages, we get bits of paper drop, whatever. The briefs can come in very, very different formats, as we know from clients. And you've got a job there to convert that, because nobody wants to be filling in forms. That's one of the big efficiency savers that we bring to the briefing process. But then you also talked about, okay, well, can I look at that brief and look at, well, what's the work that needs to happen? That could be interpreting the brief. That could be looking at similar briefs to this one and what we did there and bringing that information back. And when we talk about an agent doing this, I suppose you used the term earlier, multi-agent. This is where the multi-agent piece comes in, because one agent could be that brief reader to say, read the document, convert it into this form. A different agent might be the one that says, I'm going to create the task, so create the estimate for us and do that. So certainly breaking it down to tasks. When we're talking to clients, it's getting that level of understanding of, you in effect have quite, an agent is very similar to quite a junior resource coming in, and you give them a very specific job that they can learn by heart and repeat through the system and do that for you. So that's one side in, I suppose, bringing the real understanding to this, of saying, break your agents down, give them jobs that it's a fail safe to make sure that when they do it correctly at that point.
Yeah, it's about bite-sized chunks really that the agent is good in, and it really is about choosing the correct model and harness and infrastructure around that.